Ever since Fairway opened its doors, we've been committed to developing relationships with the best local farmers. That's why 100% of Fairway meat is sourced from farming communities right here in the Midwest. Because nobody knows meat like we do, and nobody is better known for their meat than Fairway. It's a source of pride to source from the communities we live in and to help bring you, our neighbors, the highest quality meat for the lowest possible price.
All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome to a little halftime show here on the Cyclone Fanatic social media feeds, of course, YouTube as well. Thank our sponsor, Karl Chevrolet. Just saw their beautiful ad right there. I think that ran in the Super Bowl last year. My friends at Nebraska Furniture Mart in Clive, and of course, Des Moines and Ames Eye Care. Eye Care for the whole family. Actually got these Blu-ray blocker glasses there a few years ago. Bret Meyer is out. I believe he has a wedding that he's at. So we've gone to Todd Blythe. We've pulled into the bullpen and brought Blythe in to
you traded up.
Yeah. Well, Meyer would just be complaining about the turf the whole time. So this is a good decision on our behalf. It's 38-0, Todd. Iowa State is just dominating Kansas. The spread in this game was 34. Iowa State covered in the first half. Is this, I guess the first question, and not that it really matters right now, but is Iowa State flipped the switch, or is Kansas that bad by what you've been able to see?
My guess is probably a combination of both of those. I hope that we've turned things around and just kind of flipped the switch, as you said, and figured some things out on offense, but I also think that Kansas stinks. So it's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, a few statistics. Brock Purdy was really good in the first quarter. At one point, he had thrown 5 passes, and 4 of them were for touchdowns. Blocks thrown for 216 yards, 4 touchdowns, a completion percentage of 83%. What do you think of him? He's taken some bullets from the fan base thus far in a 2-2 start. What's your analysis on number 15?
Yeah, he's taken some bullets from me as well. I mean, I've said, at times last year and then this year as well that he's looked very average. I think he's looked really good tonight. I think he's got the ball out of his hand really quick. He's been decisive. He's just, catch the snap, look downfield, make a read, and throw the ball, which is what he's done tonight. He's extended a couple plays when he's had opportunities, and then he's also ran the ball, which I love seeing. I think that's something we've kind of got away from at times of using him in the run game. So, I he's had a great first half so far, and the numbers show it.
Yeah, he looks a little less likely to throw the ball away, but of course that, when you don't have anybody coming after you, it's a lot easier to do that. A lot of people right now chiming into us, and we appreciate you all watching on Twitter and Facebook specifically, wanting to know how long you keep the starters in a game like this. I don't know, a series or two. What do you think, Todd?
Yeah, I mean, at least a series or two. I mean, that's always tough from a coaching perspective. You really don't care, but you're going to have a lot of guys up for awards at the end of the season, so that stats come into play. You also want to just have a good showing overall, and this is a chance to do it for a 2-2 team that hasn't looked great at times this year. So, at least a couple of series. You'd love to see him get through the third quarter and get a full quarter in, but the worst thing in the world would be to have one of your studs walk away and come up a little gimpy at the end of this game because they stayed in too long.
Especially it's been raining. It looks like it's done right now. I don't know. Injuries don't really – I don't know. You tell me. Dr. Greenwald told me over the week that you actually see fewer injuries in rain because there's more give. But still, I saw Breece Hall slip out there, and he went down hard, and I'm just like, you're up 5 touchdowns. It makes me nervous having your studs running around out there in the rain.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. I never thought about that the turf is going to give under your feet a little bit easier. You're not going to get those twisting, kind of torque injuries where your cleat gets stuck in the ground. But at the same time, soft tissue injuries when your feet slide out from under you and you pull a groin or a hamstring or a hip flexor. That would be such a stupid injury to have it tonight in a game where, you know, after the first quarter, we pretty much had this thing buttoned up.
Yeah, defensively, Iowa State forcing some turnovers. The Kansas quarterback just dropped the ball at one point, which was kind of funny to see. I know you're an offensive guy, but man, they were so dominant. They pitch a shutout. It's funny to me that it's 38-0, and we've got fans saying they'd like to see better defense.
What do they want?
Well, that's kind of where I'm at too. And like when you're so dominant too, like I don't know, like Kansas has scholarship guys too. It's like, what is that like keeping your focus at halftime? That's tough. Like we've seen this before. Kansas State last year, West Virginia last year. You've been in games like this when you're just killing somebody. What's the mindset of the guys?
I've been on both sides of games like this. I would say you took the words right out of my mouth. It's like, they have scholarship players too. Like these kids are high level athletes and good football players. Just because they're wearing a KU on their helmet doesn't mean they're bad football players, at least all the time. We gave up the one drive and then we got a pick at the end of it in the end zone. But, I think we have such good leaders, and our leaders on the team are seasoned veteran guys that have been around for a long time. I think we'll stay plugged in. I think we'll be just fine through the second half. It's also a great opportunity to get some guys who don't get a lot of tick to get out there and get on the field in some meaningful snaps. So those guys you would like to think would be locked in as well. So I think we'll be just fine as far as that goes. Again, my big thing is let's get out of this game feeling healthy, both X and O's wise, and then obviously health wise as well.
For what it's worth, these are, granted, we don't get to see games like this very often, but the lopsided games in general are always my favorite because I'm such a geek. I study these rosters 365 days out of the year, right? And this is a fun one because you get to carry your roster and you're like, oh, who's that just made that play, right? It's these guys you've read about in recruiting and we've covered on the recruiting trail, and we get to see them play. And that is a big deal to them. I want to say even going into the bye week, right? These guys don't get a lot of love. You never really experienced that because you went from the scout team to starting, but guys who did. And this is a big opportunity for them on the big stage.
Absolutely. And this is great for the coaching staff as well. I remember at my time as a coach, when you get in a lopsided win like this, it's a time to throw someone out there who's performed in practice, and it may be a young guy, maybe he's been there for 2 or 3 years, but shows up in practice. He makes plays, in scrimmages and throughout fall camp, and just hasn't been able to get in there in a real game yet. This is an opportunity to do it and see if he can make those same kind of plays with the lights on. So this is great for the coaching staff to see what some young guys are. It's great to nerd out from a fan perspective because you really get to test your fanhood and see if you know anything about the 3s and 4s on the team.
Just a quick update in Stillwater. It's 14-0. Oklahoma State leads Baylor, who obviously beat Iowa State last week. Yeah, you get a shout out there on your shirt, Joe.
That's right.
The weird game in Stillwater today, not Stillwater, in Morgantown. Tech goes to West Virginia and upsets them. They were a touchdown underdog. Man, Oklahoma doesn't look great. They really struggled to put away Kansas State. I do get the feeling like everybody was down after last week. Iowa State's still in this. Like I truly believe that. This Big 12 is weird. I think that you could easily have a 3-loss team potentially make the Big 12 championship.
Absolutely. You can see it today as a perfect snapshot of what the league looks like. It's just wide open. Anybody can win this thing. Anybody can get beat on any Saturday. We proved that last week against Baylor. Oklahoma is certainly not bulletproof. They almost went down today against K-State, who's a good football team, but I don't think anybody thought that they would be just an out-of-this-world great football team. And they gave them everything they wanted today in that game. So Big 12 is wide open. As long as we're still in a good position, we don't control our own destiny. But if we handle our business and win out, we're right where we want to be.
All right, Todd. Thanks, man. Go enjoy a couple of cold beverages in the second half. I wish
You know
I
I
could
will.
join you, to be honest.
Oh,
It's like
man.
I'm complaining here. Like it's kind of boring. 38 to nothing, but nonetheless, we're gonna kick our feet back up here in the press box and enjoy the second half. You do the same, my man.
All right, brother.
He's Todd Blythe. My name is Chris Williams. Thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate it. Jared and Rob will have post game from up here in the press box afterwards. I'll have the Instant Reaction podcast on the feed. Later.